السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد إن أصدق حديث كتاب الله عز وجل وأحسن هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم والشر أمور محدثاتها وكل محدث في الإسلام بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. All praise and thanks is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him and we extol Him. We send the finest of salutations ala Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Really the most truthful of speech is the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the finest guidance is that of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the most evil of affairs are the newly invented ones, bid'ah. And every bid'ah is a going astray, and every going astray leads to the hellfire. That's a little afiyah with a bad. Today, my dear Brother Salam and Iman, the topic of our khutbah will be revolving addiction. And first, I would like to start by mentioning something and saying something that is coming from myself. I was not approached by anyone after last week's khutbah. I was not advised, but I mentioned that many Muslims, specifically in the West, are comfortably sitting on their devices and searching and watching explicit movies and so on and so forth. So I want to say publicly that if I said anything that might have offended anybody, that I sincerely apologize for that. And alhamdulillah, if I had offended anyone, this is my public apology. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for me to say things that are more in line with the Quran and Sunnah. And I might have gotten a little carried away. So inshallah, I promise that inshallah in the future, I would try my best to keep my speech in line with the Quran and Sunnah and less emotionalism. Bismillah. This has always been my motto, that I should rather offer solutions than to criticize and to find fault with people. And I should be more understanding that many people are struggling with anxiety, leading to addictions of many types. So today, bismillah, the topic of our khutbah will be revolving around one specific addiction. As Muslims, we know that speaking about addiction is a taboo subject in Islam. As Muslims, you rarely hear anyone speaking about this because it is taboo to speak about drugs or alcoholism. But today, bidnillah, I would like to speak about the addiction of eroticism, pornography, that has become rampant in our community. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. We have to understand that many of us don't understand that this type of addiction has a way of creeping into one's psyche. What is eroticism? It's when a person is overly infatuated with the images, books, videos of the like, that these things will create and produce a sexual desire in an individual. As people living here in the West, we realize, and we all know, we've seen the ads, that there is plenty of resources that are available, readily available for those who are struggling with various types of addictions. But there is little or no known resources for individuals who are struggling with the addiction of eroticism. Pornography is rampant all over the world, especially now with the advent of the internet that is so accessible. And the resources that are available for those who want to become this type of individual are too much to enumerate. Alhamdulillah, looking on the bright side, there is help. If a person has addiction of any sort, as Muslims, there is help. The first thing that we have to do is have a really strong intention to want to bring about better in ourselves. We have to have a deep down intention that we want to eradicate and remove this from our side, from ourselves. Inshallah, that's a starting point. So the first thing we need to realize about erotica is that it can have a greater impact on an individual and on society, even more so than the toxic effects of drugs and alcoholism to the body. Also, for the most part, for those who are obsessed with eroticism, they don't understand their obsession. For the most part, those who are obsessed with erotic images and videos, they don't understand why they're obsessed with these things. They would just say that they are, and this is what they like to watch. They find some type of a joy and amusement in it. So what is it that makes this so addictive in nature? The short answer is the brain. There's a long and short answer to this, but the short answer is the brain. Because when a person is addicted to drugs or any type of narcotic or alcoholism, there is a triggering thing which is known as dopamine in the person's brain. When they get that fix, then they are relaxed. They are feeling in a state of relaxation after getting that fixed. And any person who is involved with any type of counseling will understand that while speaking to the addict, they don't understand that what they're craving and what they're running after is that blast of dopamine in the brain, that feel-good feeling. And this is the same, my dear brother Salam Iman, with social media. When we're in the habit, as adults, as older people, we can understand and we can see ourselves getting carried away. But young people, they don't realize that they're experiencing that same sensation while surfing the web, on social media, on those different accounts. So when it comes to the chemicals that are at work in the brain, when a person is addicted to erotic images or videos of the like, there is the chemical of testosterone, oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin. All this accompanied with the feeling of shamefulness is why the feeling of eroticism and sexuality is something which is so hidden in our society, because it isn't a group thing. Like people will get together and drink or smoke or use some forms of narcotics. And these are things which a person can say can be taken away with the removal of bad company, because misery likes company, they say. But the thing about when a person is addicted to pornography and the erotic images, there's a shame that's associated with it. And that cocktail of emotions that are taking place in the person's brain is something that is triggering, and it's so hardwired that the person loses themselves while surfing and engaging in those things. So it creates a fear, sex, shame stimulant in the brain. As we know, my dear brother Salam Iman, that sexual predators exist, and they've always existed ever since the advent of the internet. And even more so, you see that these sexual predators, they will come and slip into different chat rooms and chat forums, and they will speak and be chatting up young men, young boys, preferably, because the majority of these online sexual predators are men. This is not to be sexist or anything, but the overwhelming majority of those online sexual predators are men. They might be looking at women, but they prefer young girls and even younger boys who are not really in tune with their sexuality. So they experiment with their sexuality through the chat rooms, through those online chat forums. This, my dear Brother Salman Iman, trend of over-sexualization of our youth, it's become rampant in this generation. So this is a taboo subject. Maybe we've never heard Imam speak about it on the minbar, but we have a duty to bring out those issues that are taboo, that are not really something that we even want to speak about or hear about, but it's going on and it's rampant. The sex is pouring into the minds of our youth. The shows, the children's shows, the cartoons are not innocent. They're no longer innocent anymore. The innocence is being taken away from our youth, even more so due to social media. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always told us in His book to stay away from anything that is lewdness, promiscuity, sexuality. Allah says, وَلَا تَقْرَبَ الزِّنَا إِنَّهُ كَانَ فَاحِشَةً وَسَاءَ سَبِيلًا. And don't come anywhere near to unlawful sex. Verily it is fahisha, immoral sin and an evil way. Today, my dear Basalam and Iman, the youth are experiencing early symptoms of immorality due to the over-sexualization of our youth online. They are seeing violence and sex at young ages. And there are many research that has been taking place. So this isn't anything new, and we shouldn't be shy, which haya is a part of our iman, our faith. But this is an issue that needs to be opened up. We cannot wait for our children to become corrupt before we address these issues. Porn addiction is something which is rampant. Children are becoming addicted at younger ages, and they're being exposed to it at younger ages. We have to understand that as people in authority, we need to check this. We need to nip this in the bud before they become exposed, because thoughts lead to intentions, which lead to actions. So we must curb these things before they get out of control. As the Prophet ﷺ did, as a hadith in Imam Muslim, Imam Ahmed, Abu Umama, he said that a young man came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, Ya Rasulullah, O Messenger of Allah, adani lizina, give me permission to go and commit illegal sexual activity. The people rebuked him. The people rebuked him. The Prophet ﷺ said, Da'hada, leave him alone and bring him here. He said, come close to me. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Ijlis, sit down. Then the Prophet ﷺ, he started his counseling. He said, would you like that for your mother? The young man said, La wallah, no, I would not like that for my mother. He said, in the same way, people also do not like that for their mothers. He said, would you like that for your paternal aunt? He said, La, no, I do not, and I would not like that for my paternal aunt. He said, in the same way, people would not like that for their paternal aunts. Would you like that for your maternal aunt? He said, no. May I be ransomed for you? He said, in the same way, people do not like that for their maternal aunts. Would you like that for your daughter, if you had a daughter? He said, no, I would not like that for my daughter. La wallah. In the same way, people don't like that for their daughters. He said, would you like that for your sister? He said, no, I would not like that for my sister. In the same way, people don't like that for their sisters. Then the Prophet ﷺ, he laid hands on the young man and he said, Allahumma aghfir dhanbahu wa tahir qalbahu ahsan farajahu. Oh Allah, forgive his sins, purify his heart, and guard his chastity. Guard him from this evil, the inclinations. After the Prophet ﷺ laid hands on the young lad and counseled him in that manner, he said he was furthest away from those illicit thoughts or desires or sensations. So we shouldn't just shove them away, my dear brother and man. We need to bring them close and make them understand of the evil of this industry and how it's destroying our youth. There's a study that is taking place that nearly every adult who struggles with their uncontrollable porn addiction have admitted that it started in their early childhood. Researchers show 50% of men and 10% of women who were exposed to pornography as children will develop an addiction, an obsessive addiction. One study found The average age of first exposure is 11 years old. This tells us, my dear Brother Iman, that this is an increasingly difficult problem in our society. There are a number of people, young people, who are exposed at an awfully young age. This is going to lead to a lifelong addiction. As I said, my dear Iman, the truth of the matter of this taboo issue of addictions in general, but more so the sexual perversion and online addiction, it has started with people at a young age. Young people are struggling with this issue. As I said, that the greatest part of the reason is that it is a taboo subject. So we need to open up this can of worms and have this conversation with the youth. Allah He speaks about the believers. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِفُرُوجِهِمْ حَافِظُونَ. And those believers are those who guard their chastity from looking, hearing, or speaking indecencies. The Prophet ﷺ, he was not fahish or mutafahish. He did not speak indecently. He did not use any foul words that people can misconstrue and take out of context. No, he was shy. He had haya. He had more modesty and shyness than the virgin woman who was secluded in her home. Ali ibn Abu Talib reported that the Prophet ﷺ advised him and said that the first look at a woman is for you. If you look at a woman, that is for you. But the second one is not permissible. The second one will be counted against you. That is from the shaitan. So with the first look, that means that we just keep looking. We misconstrue or we make a mockery of the hadith. When we're advised, the Prophet said the first look is for me. So we look and we just keep looking. La. If something happens to pop up on our screen, or we happen to see something, we say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh, and we close that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all tawfiq. Ameen. Bismillah, salatu salam ala Rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa tabi'il huda wa ba'd. In closing, speaking about addictions, the question arises, is it actually possible for a person to curb this addiction, to stop watching erotica? The short answer is yes, but it's going to take some work. If we're sincere with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we want to better ourselves, that we want to be Muslims in word and in deed and in intention, deep down inside, not only on Yawm al-Jum'ah, not only at an Islamic gathering that we say Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam and we act Islamic. Our deen comes from within. It must permeate from within us. When we're alone on our devices. So we have to understand, my dear Brother Iman, that the first step is to get professional help. Where? Look for it. Search for it. And you will find that professional help. Don't self-medicate. This is another disease that many people have today. When they find out that they have any problem, they start searching online. A lot of people, due to their searching, they have found the wrong type of help. They have found those who are and ill-advising them. There is, as I mentioned, those illicit groups, those sexual predators. There is one group that now has been called a terrorist group, has been considered and named as a terrorist group in Canada. They're named Incel. This is a group that recruits, that they're online sympathizers for those people who are having a hard time getting along with women. So these people are married to those illicit images, those explicit images. So we have these groups like Incel who sympathize. There are hundreds, maybe thousands of young men who sympathize with other men who have a hard time communicating with women. If we realize, my dear brother Solomon Iman, that we have a problem, we can help ourselves. The first step in helping ourselves in the correction process is to not be alone with our devices. If we have a problem and we recognize that we have a problem, you have work to do on your device, do your work. Finish your work. Close the device. Go to the masjid. Pray. What work you have to do, finish your work, whether it takes 2 or 3 hours, and go and pray in Jama'ah. Every step you take will be losing of sin and raising in darajat. Pray in Jama'ah. Join sports teams, volleyball, football, soccer. Fast. Fasting is another way to curb the desire. And if you can afford it, don't put off marriage. This is not the illusion that we need to have for ourselves, that we need to have $1 million before we get married. La. If you have the desire, get married ASAP. And the last advice I want to give to myself and y'all is that we must not encourage, as Muslims, we should not and must not encourage any type of premarital relations. Islam is totally against what they call here in the West safe sex. We promote abstinence. We do not involve in any premarital relations. This is not a joke, my dear Brother Iman. We do not involve in it, and we do not encourage anything that looks like it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us in regards to the Prophet Lut alayhi salam, and how he would warn his people of the lewdness and immorality that they were carrying on with until the punishment came to them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warned them, Allah through the tongue of his Prophet Lut alayhi salam. And Lut alayhi salam had a family. He was a prophet. He had a family. He had a wife and he had children. And Allah Azza wa Jal told him to warn his people. And he continually warned his people. But little did he know that his wife was a sympathizer to those people. Allah Azza wa Jal told him, فَأَنْجَيْنَاهُ وَأَهَلْهُ إِلَّا امْرَأَتَهُ قَدَرْنَاهَا مِنَ الْغَابِرِينَ. Allah Azza wa Jal saved him and his family, إِلَّا امْرَأَتَهُ, except for his wife. Allah destined that she will be one of those left behind. Meaning she was one of those who were destroyed with the rest. She did not involve in the immorality, but she was a sympathizer, as what they call an ally to them. She did not speak out. And they said in the Mufassirin that when the guest came to Lut alayhi salam, she put a flag on the house to let the people know that there was fresh meat available here. So the point is, someone could be in your family, but they can be far astray. If we see the signs, we need to advise them. Like Nuh alayhi salam. Nuh advised his family. He advised his community. For over 950 years he gave them da'wah. And his own son wouldn't listen to him. His son said, I will take myself to the highest mountain. They will save me from the water. He made dua and he asked Allah. He said, he is my son. Allah said, Innahu laysa min ahlik. He is not from your family. Innahu amla ghayra salih. His deeds are not righteous. So my dear Iman, let us inshallah make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help us, protect our families from the fahisha that is readily available at our fingertips. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us and keep us chaste, keep our families chaste. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help our brothers and sisters who are fighting and suffering in Palestine. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help the people in Gaza and give them safety and security. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help our brothers and sisters who are suffering in Kashmir, in Sudan, in all of the Muslim worlds. Ya Rabbal Alameen. Amin, amin, amin. Inna Allah wa malaikatu yusalluna ala nabiyyin ya alladhina amanu. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما صليت على ابراهيم وعلى ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما باركت على ابراهيم وعلى ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد. ربنا اعطنا في الحسنه وفي الصلاه.